What's the worst way your boss has fired you from work? My boss once asked me if I wanted to go home early. I said yes and left. I got a call that evening from him telling me I was fired for not returning from my break. I asked what break, and he said he sent me home for 2 hours so I could come back and work the evening shift. He definitely did not tell me that. I had dinner plans with family. I would have told him I couldn't work that evening. My dad told me once about a coworker getting fired on Take Your Daughter to Work Day. It was before lunch too, so they both had to be escorted out of the office carrying their brown paper lunch bags. I was told that I was losing the company too much money. Come to find out, someone else was closing cash repair orders in my name and pocketing the cash. I brought in jobs worth $500,000 in the short time I was there, with a salary of about $55K. He must have stolen quite a bit to make it where I was losing the money. I got a call while I was on vacation that someone else had been hired for my position and I was no longer needed. Have a nice life. Accused me of stealing. I proved her wrong on the spot. She told me, well, my mind is made up. Fuck you, Darla. Been on the end of this one too. 2 years later, boss gets caught doing all the stealing. The police ask the owners if they want to lay charges against the boss. The owners say no. I find out later that the owners were the mafia and they liked to solve their own problems.
So you're saying your old boss is now a parking lot?
I have no idea and no desire to find out. I was at a temp to hire job. 2 months in, the training stopped. I found that job on the company's website. I asked the boss if that meant I was not going to be hired permanently. She said, "We are looking for people with more experience." They gave the job to a janitor. He started reducing everyone's hours and hired a couple part-time high school employees that were willing to accept $12 an hour and only 8 hours a week. I asked him for more hours. Instead, he cut my hours down to 8, like the high school kids. He knew that I'm a single mom with kids to support. I tried to talk to him, but he shut his office door and told me he was busy. Then he texted me a few days later that work was slow and he didn't have any hours for me at all that week. He did the same the following week. I asked if this meant I was fired, and he said no and blocked me. I called the receptionist, who told me that I was fired. 1. Fired me over the phone while I was out of state at my best friend's wedding, which I had told them about at the interview and said if it wasn't going to work for them, I wouldn't take the job. 2. Booted me from the work FB page after a minor disagreement over a broken light fixture that he broke. He never actually spoke to me. Via an email from head office from some HR person I've never met. After over 10 years of dedication. No sick days or vacations. Fucking assholes. I didn't technically get fired, but had to leave for obvious reasons after this. My boss called me in his office and told me there had been a billing error and that I was being paid too much. So to make up for the error, he said that from now on, he would pay me for 7 hours of work a day, even though I worked 7.5 with a half-hour lunch. Said he wouldn't pay me for my breaks, even though he didn't give us breaks. But he said, "Don't worry, you can still get paid the same you're getting paid now. You just need to come in an hour early every morning." It was a shame too, because I liked the guy before that. But that move was too sketchy for me to stay there, and to be honest, I was already pretty burnt out. I decided to quit and go back to school instead. I was fired after having sex with my boss. Yes, I was in a relationship with my boss. 100% consensual. Her reasoning was that she wanted to have sex one last time before firing me like her bosses, the owners, wanted, because she knew she probably would have the opportunity for a while. And yes, I 100% should not have been in a sexual relationship with my boss. But I was 20, stupid, and working as a delivery driver for a fast food chain, so I gave exactly 0 fucks about the job, or professionalism in general. I was just happy to be having sex. Needless to say, I think I was more disappointed about losing the sex than the job at the time. But looking back, what a fucked up way to fire someone. I went on an internal training course that was sinfully dull and didn't contain any training other than what was in a manual I'd already read. They sent out a feedback form for the course. I gave my feedback as pretty much that. Roll on to my disciplinary meeting about my feedback on the poor quality of the training. My manager said, if you thought the training wasn't good and needed improving, that's fine, but there is a time and a place for that. I replied with, surely a feedback form asking my thoughts on the quality of the course is specifically that time and place. My manager didn't know how to reply and just tried to move the conversation along. Anyways, they were going to fire me as this was considered bullying. Apparently, Even though I never named names or spoke specifically about any trainers, I just asked if I could quit and they said yes. Why the heck would you quit instead of making them fire you or lay you off? Quitting means no unemployment and no grace period on a PIP using company time to look for another job. Quitting doesn't mean you can't file for unemployment, and being fired doesn't mean you'll automatically get it. You can always file for it, and the employer can always contest it or not. I worked at a car wash for a guy a long time ago. Dude was a complete asshole. He would always scream at me for not moving fast enough. He would often tell me, "Go home, you're fired," in the middle of a shift, then call me in the next day. I put up with him for a long time because he was a friend of my dad's. One day, he came out to the car wash screaming at me to go home again. This day, I decided to hang out, see if I could reason with him. Our car wash has a brush that needed to be shut off any time a Ford Focus came through. It would break the mirrors off the vehicle if we didn't. I was standing around waiting to talk with him. A Ford Focus pulls up. He turns around and hands me the keys to the car wash, asks me to go turn off the brush. So I did, thinking surely this meant he was calming down and willing to listen to reason. I go turn off the brush, come back and give him the keys. He says, "Good, now go home, you're fired." I walked away flipping him off and said, "With all due respect, fuck you, sir." Never got a call back after that. My dad thinks the story is hilarious. It also turned out the guy was a big-time drug smuggler, smuggling all sorts of drugs into the US over the Canadian border, which I found out a couple years later when his arrest was in the papers. Guy was a complete asshole. Whenever people complain to me about our boss because they asked them to do something totally within their job description, I always use this guy as an example of what an actually bad boss looks like. This happened not too long ago. I live in South Carolina, and it got hit real badly by Hurricane Helene. During the week of recovering from the hurricane, I received texts from my workplace announcing what shift was running and what wasn't. Throughout the entire week, I'm talking from Sunday to Thursday. We don't work Fridays or Saturdays. My shift did not work at all, and I have proof of that text saying, "B shift will not run tonight." But on Friday, I got a text from my HR. She stated I had not worked since last week, and because I didn't call out, I was forced to be let go. I'm over here like, lady, there are literally texts you guys sent us to not come to work. She then told me if I wanted to keep my job, I had to bring in a doctor's excuse to make up for those days. I fought with her back and forth, but all she was worried about was the fact that I didn't work for the entire week. I didn't want to put up with it anymore, so I just told her, yeah, whatever, you can let me go. I wasn't really surprised when other people got the same message that I did and was let go too. It was a shitty-ass company anyway. I worked at a nursery, was praised all the time for my detailed work. I even set the new higher standard for the company. Not intentionally, I just did what was asked, but I did it well. I asked for 2 weeks off for vacation as I would not be in town, and they said yes, but only one is paid. I fully understand and had no problem with it. However, they changed their minds and called me and said if I don't come in Monday to turn in my phone, they thought I'd come running back, but I just said, okay, but I'll bring the phone back next Monday when I'm back. Bye. We had been assured through our manager 2 weeks prior that our jobs were secure. We were in the middle of a massive migration project and figured they'd at least wait until it was done before changing anything. Nope. Shit-canned our entire team one morning, including our manager, and dumped the whole migration on another team that was already overworked, not to mention untrained and unfamiliar on our toolset. As soon as I was told, I went in the group chat to let everyone else know. At the end of the layoff interview, they asked me not to tell anyone else because they would feel terrible having that hanging over them. I just said that I'd give my team the same consideration I would want shown to me. I think HR lady heard the subtle "fuck you" in that sentence. It was needless to say, a complete clusterfuck afterwards. Millions in contracts were lost. I came down with a bug during work one day. I was teaching a class and kept having to go to the bathroom. When nap time came around, I was miserably sitting at my desk when my boss comes in and orders me to follow her to her office. We arrive and she immediately tells me that I'm fired. My jaw dropped and I was speechless. When I asked for a reason why, she said, "I don't have to give you a reason, just get out." So there I was, jobless, standing in the 102 degrees heat, crying my eyes out on the side of the curb. I was so pissed. Goodbye and good riddance, you hateful bitch. Thanks for watching. We upload every day, so make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day and see you in the next one.